Y'all, welcome to another episode of U.S. History Made Plain. I'm a high school history teacher trying to make history as fun and interesting for my students as possible. Let's talk about the Quebec Act. So the land that was west of the Appalachian that the French had to give to the British after the 7 Years' War. You know, Britain is mad at the colonists right now. They give that land to the French Canadians and they make all these rules that angered the colonists. The first thing they did, made Roman Catholicism the religion of that land. Most of the colonists are Protestant. So they were like, so that's what we're doing now. They took that very personally. They also set up a government and allowed the land to expand into the Ohio River. British told the colonists they couldn't pass those mountains. The colonists wanted to go past those mountains to settle all that farmland. So now the British is like, nah, that belongs to the French Canadians. The colonists are like, so it sounds like y'all really want to fight. Like, it seems like this is what this is. So the Enlightenment thinkers had a lot to do with the American Revolution. They believed in God. They believed that God created the universe. But when it came to day-to-day societal operations, they felt like God was like, yeah, I'm busy. Like I created the earth, leave me alone. Felt like human reason, human logic can solve the problems of the people. So they didn't think that God really had anything to do with the laws and rules that they made for the land. John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, so the colonists who were educated in the 1760s and 70s, they read what John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau were saying and spread that word to let everyone know, yo, we probably can do this on our own. We don't need anyone telling us what to do, which helped to fuel the American Revolution. Let's talk about the First Continental Congress. So 1774, everything boiled over. The colonists were like, yo, we fed up with Britain and their intolerable acts and the foolishness they're doing over there. So they decided, we gotta all get together. We gotta come together and talk this out. So everybody, except for Georgia, everybody went to Philadelphia. In September of 1774, they sent delegates, representatives from each colony except Georgia. Surprisingly, at this time, most of them did not go with the idea of independence. That was not the point of the First Continental Congress. The goal for most of the colonists was just to get the relationship back to what it was before the 7 Years' War. So there were a lot of different people at the First Continental Congress. Who was not there? Loyalists. There were no loyalists that came to the First Continental Congress. But you had some radicals like Sam Adams, who his whole thing was, Britain, you gonna pay for the disrespect. You gonna pay for that, okay? Then you had moderates like George Washington, who was like, yo, we need to make some changes and apologize, let us know that you're not gonna do it again. Then you have people like John Jay who were like, hey, just, acknowledge that you were wrong and then we can go back the way things were before the 7 Years' War. No harm, no foul. So this entire First Continental Congress was trying to come up with a way to get Britain to change their ways, except the goal was not to offend the radicals, not to offend the moderates, and not offend the conservatives. Remember when we talked about Ben Franklin and his Albany plan? Well, Joseph Galloway actually came up with another plan that was similar to Ben's. It failed to pass by one vote. So they did not decide to go against Britain during this First Continental Congress. So instead, they went with the Suffolk Resolves. They wanted to repeal the Intolerable Acts. They wanted to get the military ready just in case Britain wanted to pop off and not, accept their proposal. And then also continue boycotting British goods. They also asked for the Declaration and Resolves, which was the king was going to make right any grievances that the colonists had, restore all colonial rights. They did, however, allow Parliament to still regulate their commerce and their money. Next, they wanted the Continental Association, a network of committees that enforced the Suffolk Resolves. The last thing they came up with at the First Continental Congress was, if Britain does not follow our demands and make this right, we're going to meet again in May of 1775 and pop all the way off.